where do you see the clearest scriptural support for women in ministry? And how would you build a biblical argument for women serving in leadership roles today within the church?
Well, for me, the clearest scriptural argument for women in ministry is the women who were in ministry in the New Testament. As simple as that. And one of the things that I've become more and more passionate about, the more I read Paul, the more I read Acts, and actually the more I read the Gospels, is the number of women who are there faithfully ministering. You've got the followers of Jesus, named and unnamed, who are there. But let's pause for a moment and think about people like Mary Magdalene and Joanna, who supported Jesus's ministry. You've got the handful of Marys, depending on how you identify them, who were faithfully there at the cross and then there at the resurrection. You've got Mary Magdalene being the first person sent out to tell the good news, as well as the other women who were there. You've got all the people in the Pauline early Christian communities who were women who were leading. So you've got Priscilla and Aquila. Priscilla married to Aquila, who was a fundamental part of the earliest Pauline communities and who corrected Apollos when he went wrong in his theology. You've got Phoebe, who we know brought the letter of the Romans to Rome and quite possibly was the first ever exegete of one of Paul's letters. It's possible, in fact, that she was. You've got Junia. I know there's lots of debate about Junia, but Junia, who I think Paul describes as being one of the most prominent of the apostles. You've got Euodia and Syntyche in Philippians, who, though having fallen out, have fallen out doing the work of the Lord alongside Paul. So therefore, were working with Paul. You've got Nympha, who's got a church in her house. I could go on and on. But for me, the really important thing is there are so many women, and the key thing is neither Jesus nor Paul tell them they're not allowed to do what they're doing. The actual women carry on doing what they're doing, ministering faithfully. And then you have these passages, and the passages about which people will talk extensively, 1 Corinthians 11, 1 Corinthians 14, and 1 Timothy 2, which apparently put boundaries around what women can do. But what for me is really interesting is they are all general passages, not specific passages. Paul never says, and I wish Phoebe would stop. And I wish Euodia and Syntyche would not be co-workers together with me in the gospel. He just allows them to minister. And then he comes up with these very particular strictures. Were we to have much more time, I could talk you through them, but I won't. But I think in a way what they're to be understood as something which is not actually restricting women's ministry. They're very specific comments in very specific contexts, and you need to understand them as that.